Hey everyone, excited to be back for this week's edition of Frequently Asked Questions for Commercial Real Estate. In today's video, what I want to do is talk about an analysis that I often do when I work with different tenants or sometimes even on the landlord side regarding how do you negotiate and factor in tenant improvement allowance when it comes to determining the base rate that you're going to charge based on what, people are asking for as far as tenant improvement is concerned. So in today's video, we're going to explain that particular process. So before diving this video, I'd greatly appreciate if you can like and subscribe to this channel. It really does help with the YouTube algorithm and ensures more and more people can hear this message so they can learn about the many facets of commercial real estate. Now you've done that, go ahead and like and subscribe below. Let's go ahead and dive into this episode. All right, so I'm going to explain a particular scenario that often comes up when you are negotiating different lease terms. So imagine that you are looking for a retail space and you're wanting to be in a particular area of town, and you identify a particular property that is being advertised as is kind of a white box state. And you yourself as a tenant want to ask the landlord for additional funds to be able to cover some of the build out costs. This is what's known as tenant improvement allowance. Now, what oftentimes will happen in that scenario is that the landlord, if they're receptive to it, will go back and do some calculations to determine what the new base rate or the new rate that they're going to charge you on a yearly basis is going to be based on what you're asking. So that's the analysis piece that we're going to go ahead and go through today. So let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, so let's go to this particular scenario. So we are analyzing a particular property that, let's say that you found this property, it's in a white box condition, and you're a retailer looking for about 2,000 square foot of space. As you can see right here, the asking rate is $20 per square foot, and the landlord is saying we want a 5-year commitment for the space. Now you do your calculations, you go back to your contractor, and they say it's going to cost you XYZ amount to cover the build out, and you think, okay, well, I would like the landlord to cover $20 a square foot as far as tenant improvement allowance is concerned. So that would equate to roughly $40,000 that the landlord would credit you after the build out's already been complete to kind of reimburse you for some of the costs associated with the build out. So if I'm representing a landlord and I'm a listing agent, what I often will do is say, okay, well, Mr. Landlord, if that's what they want to do and you're open to the idea of giving them that tenant improvement allowance, you got to be able to recoup that amount over a particular period of time. And so, there's different ways to conduct this analysis. So if you guys are watching this and you guys do it a different way, I'd love to hear your feedback in the comments. But the way that I typically like to do it is say, okay, well, let's imagine that you had that $40,000 available today, and you were to put that in a risk-free investment, meaning let's call it 10-year treasury. What would be the risk-free rate at this particular moment in time? And then you compound that over the period of the term, and that's what you would have in year 5 if you decided to take that route instead of giving the capital to these individuals. And so, let's assume that the risk-free rate, or what the 10-year treasury is trading at, is 5% at this moment in time. You would take that $40,000 and compound it over a 5-year period at a 5% interest rate to give you what the total amount would be in year 5. So here's the quick analysis so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So this is the base rent. So that would be your $20 a square foot times the 2,000 square foot of space. So that's $40,000 a year in base rate. Now the total tenant improvement, as I said before, is $40,000 compounded at 5% over a 5-year period. And then you divide that by 5, essentially, to give you an even amount per year. And it will equate to, based on that analysis, it will be $10,210.25 that now is spread out over the 5-year period. And this gives you a total amount of $50,210.25, which, again, there's a 3-year increase in the yearly rate, which is what we've already kind of described. And that will increase just on the base rate. It will not increase the amount of that you're assigning to the tenant improvement allowance, which will give you these amounts over a 5-year period. So that means that if I were to do the calculations, I'd go back, do my assessment, and then I'd come back to the tenant and say, hey, look, tenant, you want $20,000 or $40,000 in tenant improvement dollars. Your new base rate is going to be $25.11 to cover that amount, because, again, I'm having to give you this $40,000 that I could again, if I'm a landlord, I could take that $40,000 and buy a 10-year treasury and get a similar amount of return. So I want to be able to make sure that I'm recouping what I have lost in potential interest from a risk-free investment with what I'm giving you as a tenant. So that's kind of how I would do the analysis. If you guys want me to share this Excel sheet, happy to do so. It is a good way to educate, potential landlords or potential tenants about what the impact of decisions could be based on this particular scenario. If you guys like this channel, I would greatly appreciate it if you could like and subscribe to the channel, because it does really help with the YouTube algorithm and ensures more and more people can hear this message and learn about the many facets of commercial real estate. If you guys are looking to seek landlord representation, I do have those services, and I've helped many landlords in town secure great tenants for their space. If you'd like me to help you with that here in the Louisville metro and surrounding areas, feel free to reach out to me at 502-536-7315, or you can reach me via email at raphael@crescentigroup.com. Thanks again so much for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time.